So just about 11 years ago, Hugh Harkins, a much beloved longtime member of the congregation I served before this one, came to my office hours with a copy of the Free Inquiry magazine in his hands. He said, "There's finally a word for what I am. I am an aweist." Previously, Hugh had identified primarily as a member of the AHA group, atheists, humanists, and agnostics. He became a Unitarian before the merger in the late 50s, in the wild and woolly days when our fellowships were anti-clerical, anti-authoritarian, anti-institutional, anti-religious. You get the idea. Hugh struggled sometimes with what Bill Sinkford, then the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, called language of reverence. But Hugh also had the gentlest and most caring way about him. I remember him saying, this language doesn't do it for me, but I know there are other people in this community who it does work for, and I can't expect every Sunday to be all about me. On that day, he walked into my office after handing me the magazine. Hugh waxed downright poetic about how important the experience of awe was to him in his life. He told story after story about times when he had been transformed by natural beauty, by his relationships with his family. "You don't need God or the supernatural to have spiritual experiences," he said. And then he asked me to preach on the article, which I did. Hugh died about 3 years ago. And in memory of this kind, compassionate Navy doctor, whose understanding of himself was changed by the idea of aweism, I'm going to do that again today. So how are you doing today? Anyone feeling anxious? I see a few hands. How about afraid, sad, a little wistful, distracted? Check in with your body. What emotions are you holding today? And now I'd invite you to close your eyes. Breathe with me. And bring to mind a time when you experienced awe. Maybe it was standing at the edge of the ocean with the limitless horizon, the crashing waves, the seagulls wheeling, and that smell, fresh and fishy all at once. Or maybe it was looking up at the stars on a clear night in a place far, far from civilization. So many stars. and trying to wrap your head around the awareness that the light from those stars that seem almost close enough to touch has been traveling in most cases for hundreds, if not thousands of years in order to enter your particular eyeball. Or perhaps it was holding a newborn baby, those tiny little ears, those minuscule fingernails, or listening to a magnificent piece of music performed with great virtuosity, or witnessing an act of tremendous compassion and generosity, even self-sacrifice. Does everyone have one? Stay with it for a moment. Play it in your mind like a movie short. See if you can evoke the feeling you had in that moment. When you're ready, open your eyes, come back to the present. How are you feeling now? Has anything changed? Has anything changed? So I ask this question because studies actually show that experiences of awe change our brain chemistry. They change our electrical patterns. Activity in our default mode network, which is the part of our brain most active when we're spacing out or thinking of ourselves, that part of us quiets. This means awe brings us out of ourselves, our personal worries and distractions. We become less centered, less self-centered after we experience awe. It makes people more likely to be altruistic and generous. It may also make us smarter. One study showed that people experiencing awe were more skeptical and rational when assessing arguments in favor of a particular point of view. Perhaps because awe invites us into a sense of ambiguity and mystery, we're less susceptible to manipulation, easy answers, black and white thinking. We understand things more clearly. We're sharper and more perceptive. Experiences of awe also seem to calm our sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze reaction. Obviously, fear and anger make us reactive, but excitement and other positive emotions can also get our reptilian brain firing fast and hard. Experiences of awe soothe us. They generate a sense of inner peace. Who doesn't want more inner peace? Remember that old commercial in the 80s about this is your brain and this is your brain on drugs? Yeah? Okay, so this is our brain in today's crazy society. Distracted, anxious, overwhelmed, burned out, that egg burning in the pan. And this is our brain on awe. Less selfish, more rational, more peaceful. I picture a beautiful sunrise over the Palouse Hills. Now, awe is a universal human experience. Some traditional theologies might invite us to use these universal experiences of awe to inform an understanding of the divine. And if that works for you, more power to you. But the idea at the heart of this sermon, this weirdly spelled or pronounced school of thought that writer Phil Zuckerman basically made up, Aweism, invites us to use experiences of awe to inform our understanding of ourselves. We embrace awe not as a way of honoring God, but because it makes us better humans. He writes, life, this world, existence, it's all a surreal, pleasantly mind-blowing mystery. The depths of the infinite, the source of all being, the causes of the universe, the beginnings or ends of time and space. When it comes to such matters, we don't have a shred of a clue. And perhaps we never will. This mostly wet ball full of ptarmigans and ponytails and poverty is floating in space among a billion other balls, and there are galaxies swirling, and there's a universe expanding, which itself may actually be an undulating freckle on the cusp of something we can't even conceive of, amid an endless soup of ever more unfathomables. And I find such a situation to be utterly, manifestly, psychedelically amazing, and far more spine-tinglingly awe-inspiring than any story I've ever read in the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, the Upanishads, Dianetics, the Doctrine and Covenants, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. He continues, so smell that satchel of tangerines, and nimbly hammer a dulcimer or pluck a chicken, and listen to your conscience or master a new algorithm or walk to work or hitch a ride, because we're here, and we will never, ever know why or exactly how this all comes about. That's the situation. Deal with it. Accept it. Let the mystery be. The feeling of awe and the philosophy of Aweism give us the gift of humility. As we befriend our inability to understand absolutely everything, we're able to release that driving pressure to learn and study and categorize. We stop pretending we're in charge. We're more able to let things be. We're more willing to allow ourselves to rest. There's no point trying to figure it all out, so we might as well sink into the mystery. Awe also calls us into full awareness. There's a way when we embrace an experience of awe that it crowds out all of the inconsequential, all of the thoughts and feelings that we don't need. Our senses are all engaged and awake. We're inhabiting our body completely and with intention, and our bodies are inhabiting the world with similar intensity. Awe makes us kinder. When we allow ourselves to be awestruck one another, because after all, what a miracle that I am I and you are you, and that we have an opportunity to be in relationship. When we allow ourselves to be awestruck by one another, we can't help but treat one another with the utmost of care. I have 48 years of life experiences that no one else has. Each person I encounter has their own lifetime's worth of unique memories and impressions, thoughts and feelings. I mean, think about it. It's mind-blowing. In a way, Aweism is less a school of thought or a philosophy than it is a practice or a discipline. How would it change our lives if we deliberately chose to experience awe at least once or twice a day, like a prescription? Is that even doable? We're all born aweists. It's one of the reasons why it's a gift to spend time with children. Life is still a wellspring of wonder for them. But as we grow up, sometimes we get distracted. We have so much to do and so little time to do it. It's easy to start living life as a race or a contest. Do more, achieve more, and acquire more. As Lily Tomlin put it, the problem with the rat race is at the end of it, you're still a rat. I think sometimes we get jaded. As we're exposed to more of life, we sometimes lose the ability to appreciate. Inundated by images and ideas, experiences, we lose our capacity to be amazed. And sometimes we're damaged by life. When we get hurt, we'll often wall off parts of ourselves to stay safe, to avoid getting hurt again. We shut ourselves down and narrow our focus. This is a normal, natural, human thing to do, but it dulls our capacity for awe and wonder, and also for joy. The good news is that all it takes to reclaim our natural aweism is to slow down, notice things, and give ourselves time to appreciate how miraculous they are. Walking by a tree, we might, for example, take the time to really look at a single leaf and reflect on how amazing it is that no two leaves are exactly the same. Every leaf on every tree, the whole world over, is unique, just like snowflakes. If that doesn't do it, we can go deeper. I don't know about you, but I get bowled over by thinking about photosynthesis. Right? Our entire existence rests on the capacity of plants to eat sunlight and carbon dioxide and turn it into food, to make it into nutrients. Light and air turns into food. How magical is that? And how miraculous that they somehow evolved to do this. We have the capacity to reset our tastes, to reclaim an appreciation of the simple, the local, the small. We can eat our food one bite at a time and really taste it. We can reflect on what it took to get that food onto our plate, some of it grown from a seed, some of it transported across distances. We can offer our thanks for the life force sacrificed for the sake of nourishing our own life force. It's humbling, it's grounding, and it's awe-inspiring. We also have the ability to be brave. We can choose to accept the risks and costs that come from bringing down our protective shells and letting our vulnerable and true selves breathe again. To do this means feeling the pain rather than stuffing it away. It means metabolizing and befriending our experiences of trauma, sometimes over and over again. It means accepting and befriending our grief. Experiences of awe often bring tears and or a tenderness. Here, we get a catch in the throat. The tears are right beyond our eyes. There's this bittersweet acknowledgement that comes with it, that the moment is fleeting and will never be here exactly again. To reclaim our natural aweism, we need to let down our guard, open our eyes, open our hearts, let in the mystery and the majesty and the miracle that is creation, that is life. Over time, awe will do its work on us. It will shape us, make us wiser and more steady, compassionate, less impacted by that constant stream of bad news. One reason we gather with one another each week is to remind ourselves to keep opening, to keep experiencing awe, to keep healing and growing and living more fully. My colleague, the Reverend Kendall Gibbons, writes, "The task of our liberal religious communities is to share the adventure and help each other remember the open secret of our unconditional worth and dignity, even when we doubt it most, and to grow together toward the ideals that arise out of our reverence for the good. Just as we grow and mature physically and keep ourselves healthy with regular exercise, just as we grow and mature mentally and develop our minds through learning, just as we grow and mature emotionally and deepen our relationships by sharing ourselves with others, just as we grow and mature ethically and build more moral character from the values to which we are loyal, so I am persuaded that we also grow and mature spiritually. Religious community exists to help us deepen and celebrate and be nourished by our authentic experiences of reverence." For Hugh's sake, I'll change that last word to awe. She continues, "We gather not because we think we can force those experiences to happen on demand at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Sometimes they do, although you can't count on it, but rather because we want to remember and affirm them. We want to testify that we are the kind of beings who have such experiences and that they change us for the better and give shape to the larger meaning of our lives. It's one thing to have the night sky take your breath away and leave you feeling both exhilarated and humbled. It's even better when somebody else says, 'I know what you mean. I've had that feeling too.' It's one thing to contemplate with poignant gratitude the sacrifices that were made for the sake of your freedom. It's something different when a whole community remembers and gives thanks together." So, what do you think? Can we be aweists together? What would it be like to commit to one another that we won't let a single day go by without finding something to take our breath away? What would it shift in us if we deliberately sought out beauty and wonder, mystery, if we chose to fall on our knees, not before any deity, but before the simple miracle that is life? This world truly is unbearably beautiful, and the people in it are too. And so are you. So breathe with me again. Bring that experience of awe back to mind. Watch it unfold like a movie. Pay attention to how it makes you feel. then open your eyes and look around this room. See the beautiful trees, the beautiful faces. Feel the love, almost tangible, holding you, however you are, whomever you are, just as you are. What other response to this miraculous, mysterious, broken, and oh so beautiful world could be more appropriate or more sustaining than awe? So be it, and so may it be.